rockauto.com.
Well, I finally improved my credit score.
What? The band is about to be discovered. Rock gods don't need to worry about credit scores. We're supposed to think about how many guitars we've smashed, make ridiculous on-tour requests, tragically break up and blame creative differences.
Yeah, I'm not banking my retirement on a band that's never left your garage.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs, the Georgia Society of CPAs, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Did you know that Lions Clubs International has been collecting used eyeglasses for years? Lions members take the donated glasses, classify them by prescription, and redistribute them to needy people all over the world. Each year, over 1 million pairs of eyeglasses are given to those who may not be able to afford proper eye care. Take a look around your house. I'm sure you'll find at least one pair of glasses that no longer fits your prescription. Someone, somewhere, can use those glasses. Lions Clubs everywhere urge you to take the time to find your old glasses and then take them to the convenient drop-off sites in your community. This message brought to you by Lions Clubs International.
Okay, so just type the job website address here. That's it. Then you enter what job you're looking for there.
Electrician. This is Peter. Recently, he got help going on the internet for the first time to look for a new job.
Okay, then you just hit search and...
In the past, Peter's gotten work through people he knew, but he heard there were more jobs online.
There we go.
These are all for me?
Uh-huh.
Really? He had no idea just how many.
I can't believe it. This one looks good.
Peter is thinking the internet might be for him after all.
And this is just one website.
Wow. Why didn't I do this sooner?
See what the internet can help you do at everyoneon.org or call 1-855-387-9166 to find a free training class near you. Brought to you by Connect to Compete and the Ad Council.
Is your client working with anyone on the TV side?
My client's interested in anything that pays money. He's hot right now. You should work with him. Man, speaking as your manager,
Just because you dress like a sixth grader don't make you my manager, man.
Atlanta. All new Tuesday at 10. On FX and FX Now.
Y'all need anything else?
Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I have here with me Coach Von Wrighten, and we are talking about the power of the mind. Right before the break, I was showing you a little bit of research, a little bit of the science that just talks about these repeated viral videos of Black death, essentially. Leads to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and this is Dr. Williams who has really focused on this. And I just want to highlight one last thing about this, but it really does lead to, it's the dehumanization of Black people, because when we normalize Black death, the world becomes immune to it. And it really does result in some of the same things that PTSD, because it is essentially PTSD, with deteriorated health and wellness, and what happens when, let's say, somebody does get pulled over, a Black person gets pulled over by a police officer after having seen all of this and after having those symptoms of PTSD. That experience, does the police officer approach the person knowing, there's this whole idea of being trauma informed when dealing with people who are how is that even a part of the process? Is that even a consideration?
Well, for some and for the wise. But I really don't think that they've got that level of training in the police department. They
Not extensively.
No,
No.
they really need to get that cultural piece and that mental health piece, because I mean, even here in Atlanta, we've had a veteran who was suffering from PTSD and was in full episode and was naked and
Yes,
with no clothes on.
I recall that.
And they shot him.
Right. And you're naked, so there's no gun on you. There's no, yeah.
Yeah. So they really they are in severe need, and again they are in severe need of a transformative thought process themselves.
Right.
Which is how they think and how they view people.
Right.
Especially Africans born in America.
Yeah.
It's about value. I think there's a poem that I love to say. It says, "Fleecy locks and black complexion cannot falter nature's claims. Skin may differ, but affection dwells, and black and white the same." It says, "Were I so tall as to reach the pole, up to grasp the ocean at a span, I must be measured by my soul. The mind is the standard of the man." And that's the thing that I teach my son. It's not the color of your skin, son. It's the color of your soul that makes a difference. And that's what I want him to learn in this world.
Yeah.
It's the color of a man or woman's soul that's going to make the difference about how they treat you.
So if I can just respectfully challenge that, that is what it's the color of the soul that makes the difference. But when he sees these images that repeatedly tell him the opposite story, how do you counter that? How do you counter when the social media and the news it tells us that it's different?
Because I've chosen to show him other experiences. I have members of my family that are law enforcement, and so he has another database to draw from, and so I choose to present him with other experiences, and that's the part of his learning. It's a part of his nurturing. Right. In other words, for parents and fathers and mothers, we have to be very intentional about how we raise our children in this system right now, in order for them to remain healthy.
And that's a really great example of what I mean when I say, for those of you who saw the show topic, when I say epistemology is how you know what you know. And your son is going to know what he knows because of what you and his mom have ingrained in him and what his family has ingrained in him, regardless of what, so there is going to be some effect or some residue of the society. But depending on, the level of the strength of what you're telling him, that's going to have more weight than what he's told when he goes out in the world. Now, of course, we go through this period of having to wrestle with these different messages. Yes. But what comes out on top, is that message that came out stronger, that came out through love, that came out from the people that we trust, as opposed to those other messages.
That's right.
So.
But I'm also, like I said, I'm intentional about having him have those other experiences so that he can tell me in his own words what those experiences are. For example, I took him to Ellis Island, and he said, "Dad, this is a place of tears and hope." So I wanted him to learn that for himself. I didn't tell him those words. He chose those words.
Wow. And I love that you allow him to experience things so he can process those things with you. That is major. We're going to go right into this week's Balance Challenge.
Keeping your balance with Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
Okay, so this week's Balance Challenge, I challenge you all to examine your thinking. And so this show is about our thinking and how our thinking can actually change our lives and make a difference. So has your thinking been designed to protect you, to advance you, to hold you back, to bring yourself closer to people, or has it been really to distance yourself from people? What challenges can you make, or changes can you make to your thinking that can change your life, that can make your life more fulfilling? What are those changes to your thinking? I know that I'm actually knee deep in the trenches in work on changing my thinking. As I explained a few weeks ago on one of my shows, is that as a 18-year-old single mom, I got pregnant when I was 18, and I had so many messages at that time. Now from the time that I was born to the time that I was 17, you're awesome, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're this, you're that, you're this. As soon as I got pregnant, the messages were different from my church, from my family, from my friends. Oh, you're going to become a nobody. You're going to end up with this way. You're going to have all these kids by different men. You're going to do this. Because I had sex one time and got pregnant. You know, all of a sudden everything changed. And guess what? In that time period of my life, it impacted what I believed about myself. I believed that, I believed what they said. So everything I did since then was to prove everybody wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm not going to become this. I'm going to get my PhD. I'm going to get an education. I'm going to buy houses. And I did that. But it wasn't because my thinking was about who I am and what I'm capable, you know, that I'm a wonderful, worthy person. It was because I wanted to prove this idea wrong, that I wasn't worthy, because I believed it. And I needed to put in all this work to prove it wrong. So only recently have I realized that every decision I've made since I was 18 with regards to career, with relationship, with marriage, with love, has been on the basis that I'll be lucky if somebody accepts me as a single mom. I'll be lucky if I find love. I'll be lucky if I advance in my career, because the cards are all against me. So this is recent. And so, you know, to have that discovery at almost 40, it takes a lot of rearranging and examining of my thinking and really being conscious of how I think. And so that's what I want you all to do. I want you all to be conscious of how you think. What are those mindsets that you have that cause you to do things in desperation, or to do things out of a sense of lack? You know, are there ways in which you can change those mindsets?
Doc, there's so many different ways, as you say these things, there's so many different things running through my mind. And one of the things that came to my mind also was embrace your excellence. You know, one of that's a hard pill for a lot of people. Yeah. But there comes to the point in time after you fought all these fights. I've had the similar fights, but after you fought all of these fights to prove to other people that who you are and what you are, and that you are somebody, and that you. But there comes a point when you have to embrace your own excellence. Right. Because in spite of that, that's right. Yes. That's right. And say, okay, now this is no longer, I no longer need to prove this. But now I've embraced my own light. I've given myself permission to shine. Right. In regardless of whoever's looking, not looking, whatever. It's not about them anymore. Right. It's about me talking to me, saying I can shine, and I'm permission to shine, and not be afraid of my own light. Right. And you know, because you have to shine, because you have a purpose to serve. And by being afraid of your own light, you're not going to be able to advance in that purpose. That purpose is to help and to serve, whatever it is, you know, but purpose is usually grounded in making the world a better place in some way, shape, or form. So if you're afraid of your light, you dim your light, you won't acknowledge your light, then you're not going to be able to move forward, you know, and do those things that you were here to do. That's right. And I say also, you know, in other words, I've been delivered from the bushel. Yes. And some people, it doesn't make sense to to be lit up and put yourself under a bushel. Right. So I've been delivered from that bushel. And so I hope that anybody who's listening right now, if whatever bushel you have yourself under, whatever the words that have been spoken over your life that are not positive, that are come out from out of that bushel. Yes. You have full permission to shine. One of the most powerful things that Jesus ever said, he says, "Let your light shine." We grew up saying it in church, but not really understanding it. That word gives us permission to shine. In other words, you don't have to hide. Yeah. You don't have to hide your brilliance. You know, a lot of times people, when you're real smart, people think that you think you're something. You think who you think you are. Oh gosh, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that one. Who you think you are, Well, my dear family members. Yeah. So what I've learned to do is shine anyway. Yes. And then I choose to be around people who shine, who want to shine, and let iron sharpen iron, and let light brighten other lights. And they're not intimidated. And they're not intimidated. You know, it would have been really powerful if somebody had sat me down at age 18 with my big growing belly and said, "You know what? You are still going to be excellent. You are still going to be this. You are going to speak all those positives over my life that were spoken to me before this happened." That I think that would have changed the entire course of my life. And it didn't happen, but it makes me realize, as somebody who's on the other side of that now,
this is what I need to do for other people. They need to hear that. They need to hear that empowering message. And with that said, we'll be right back.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Marie Callender's knows that you may not have time to roll out dough for a perfectly flaky crust that's made from scratch, or enough time to mix vegetables with all white meat chicken and a homemade gravy. She knows you may not have a moment to crimp the edges of your favorite chicken pot pie, but Marie Callender's does. And when she's done, all you need to do is find time to grab someone special, sit down, and savor. Marie Callender's, it's time to savor.
Is your client working with anyone on the TV side?
My client's interested in anything that pays money.
Living your life by rules that are so self-evident and obvious, you'll say, I knew that. This powerful yet short, detailed bestseller is on sale right now, under $10. Go to michaelmcfadden.com. That's michaelmcfadden.com, and let truisms help you to the next level.
This is big business. This is the American West.
Station Network.
See ya.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are talking about the mind. We are talking about the power of the mind, and we've got so much to cover, but this isn't something that can be done in one show. We might have to do like a part 2, 3, 4, as often as Coach Von wants to come back.
So be it.
So be it. I have to read this quote or this comment from Jennifer Glaze, and what she said is, it's really unfortunate how we send our young people such negative messaging just for being human. I know I experience it too. We need to stop shaming one another. And I think that's major. I mean, it's especially key when she says that we send each other, or we send our young people negative messaging just for being human. And that doesn't stop with young people. We do this to each other as adults. We do this to each other as parents. If our kids behave a certain way, we shame the parents, and and we do. We're human, and we're not perfect. There are things that happen that we learn from, that we grow from, and we grow much better when we have that network of support. So again, that idea of shaming our children for doing things that are human. How dare my 18-year-old have sex? Well, it's not ideal. We don't want them to do that. But if they do it, we've got to be that support and that source of education, like you mentioned with your son. If he experiences things, you want him to be able to come to you to process that.
That's exactly right. That's the plan, and I call that being a very intentional father. And see, some of us leave our children's growth to accident,
Right.
But if you do things on purpose and by design, as much as you can, to nurture their thought process in the right way with your experience,
right,
then it's a blessing to them.
Yes.
And I think that's the best way to travel right now. And I thank God for that wisdom at this point, to be that kind of a father. To be intentional about, hey, he's going to see negative things out there in the world, but then let's talk about it.
Right.
He comes downtown. When he comes down to my office, he said, "Dad, it's poor down here." "Yes, son. Okay. It does look poor. Let me talk to you about why." So we have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
and it's interesting because the conversations you have with your son may be very different from the conversations somebody else is having with their son on another side of town, And so this is why we have, people who will refer to a black man as a big bad dude upon appearance, as opposed to this big bad dude may be a college student who is a father of 4 kids, who has a twin sister and family that loves him. That's not the first thought, that comes to mind. This is a big bad dude. And what are all of the other things that come with being a big bad dude? Well, we have to kill this big bad dude. And if we do kill him, well, it was because he did something big and bad.
Yeah, and it's because it doesn't matter.
Right.
He doesn't matter to anyone.
Right.
And everything is going to go along smooth. And I have the right to do this. I'm entitled because of my badge or because of the color of my skin.
Right.
There's a certain level of entitlement that some people have in that world.
Absolutely. Well, and that kind of brings me back to Sean. Oh gosh, why am I losing his name? Oh shoot! But he's an activist, and I just had his name, but it's not in front of me right now. But the solutions that he proposed, and again, another one is require cops to get tested for PTSD regularly. How can they not have PTSD? Considering a lot of the things that they have seen. So I can't even imagine coming upon a murder scene, seeing some of the atrocious things that they must see, and so if you come on, and we had an officer who was here on a show who explained that he just left the scene of a child who was hit by a car and killed, and to have to see that, and then immediately after see a car run a red light, and so now he's already riled up from what he just saw. The person in the car isn't even thinking about that. So from the officer standpoint, the things that they see are going to have a profound impact on how they interact with people, especially depending on how recently they experienced whatever situation they saw.
That clearly changes how empathetic you can be.
Yes.
Your emotional state. Hey, when I told you I worked at Grady Hospital, I didn't have PTSD. I had PTS, though.
Mm-hmm. What's the difference?
Well, I didn't have the disorder.
Okay, gotcha.
I just had post-traumatic stress, though.
Right.
I mean,
and they may just have post-traumatic stress, but it's going to impact.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of stress, just watching, a doctor try to massage your heart. And then dealing with 50 family members that are on the ground, rolling all over the place, crying, and they want, and then they tell the doctor, say, Doc, they don't want to see the doctor. When the doctor says their family member is dead, they say, no, you go back and you bring them back. And they're not talking to the doctor, they're talking to me. I'm the chaplain.
Right.
See, go back. You have that power. So it's very stressful. So so imagine with my level of stress and the comparison to what they have to go through every day.
Right.
Surely they need some level of ability to decompensate, to reflect, and to have some level of care.
Right.
That they need. I was fortunate to have a group of people that we practice caring for one another in that experience. I don't know whether you could do that or not.
They could do that. It's not built into the system. It's not built into the way the law enforcement operates, and that's something that really it almost needs an overhaul. And there may need to be just a mind section, a section that deals with the mind, that deals with even how to be more mindful, how to meditate. I just wonder to what extent is the mind really being considered within the ranks of law enforcement, and the health of the mind, and how they then are able to go out and serve the community as they're charged to do.
Hey, my mind is thinking of ways to do it right now. Every officer that writes a ticket today, you have to come to the the decompensation group, or not decompensation, but the group that processes. You got to come to the process group before. You got to leave your shift an hour before shift is over. And the last hour of your shift, you need to spend processing.
That's
you
awesome.
had some interaction
Reflection.
with something.
Yeah, and I love that. And how do you get a system that is so set in the way that it's been operating from the beginning? And as I've heard, the beginning of law enforcement really was to make sure slaves stayed in place, and to make sure that, and so if that is how it began, and we've just kind of evolved from there, where is the intentional effort to make sure that we are operating in this day and age with what needs to happen today?
Yeah, well, and I think that one of the things that people are going to say is what we're suggesting as a solution to supporting officers is that the most times when people bring up suggestions and solutions, people that are in the thought process and decision makers will say it's not possible. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that they'll say.
And speaking of decision makers, one of the things that that Sean proposes here is we must take bad laws on policing all the way to the Supreme Court. So we'll fight bad laws, or we'll try to make things change, and I don't even know the extent to which we do that, but that needs to be fought all the way to the Supreme Court.
Clearly, Donald Trump as recent as yesterday, in response to some of the police stuff that has been going on, said that he supports the stop and frisk thing that they started sometime in New York, sometime ago.
Yes, I do recall that.
Well, if you support that, then what you're having is again, we're going to be profiled. The reason it was declared unconstitutional was because African American men and Hispanic men were stopped at a disproportionate rate. So yes, those laws have to be taken all the way as far as we can take them.
Yeah.
And challenged.
And that's more of a practical policy, type tactic. But some of those mindful tactics are really going to change the beliefs and the ideas that it's okay to just use violence because you have an imagination of a threat. There's laws, that's great, but as you say, we also got to change the mind. And
that's
so
right.
That's key.
Because you can't legislate morality.
You cannot legislate morality. Right. Absolutely. Well, we'll be right back.
If you're looking for that ratchet, you're in the wrong place. It's the nation's urban internet station, Sensation Station Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I have here with me Coach Von Wrighten, and we are talking about the power of the mind, and largely in light of what's going on with police brutality and the mindset of our society, the mindset of politics. It all needs an overhaul, and Von had suggested that police officers go through a period of debriefing, of decompressing and really processing their day. Like the last hour of their day should be about processing. I think that is an awesome idea. And we have Yvette Calsadia who has commented, and she says, everyone needs to decompress sometimes. We all do. So imagine how much more somebody who has such an intense career like law enforcement or the medical field, military, must need to decompress. Jennifer Glaze says, true, everyone does need an emotional health outlet, but very few people get it, and even less professions promote or require an emotional health outlet. We've got to pay more attention to it, in my opinion. I absolutely agree with that.
We absolutely have no choice at this moment in time, and it comes a point where there's no wiggle room, and
right.
I think that we've come to the point in this country where there is no more wiggle room, and that we must accept the responsibility of what we have to do here. I think also the police department, like I said during the break, Pam, that they need to, they need to, keep their values, the key values or core values on the Bunsen burner. One of those core values that everyone's familiar with is to protect and serve.
Protect and serve.
And I don't think that they're listening to that. I don't think that they're reviewing that. And you didn't say it.
And there are a lot that are, but it doesn't take many to undermine that whole idea of protecting and serving. All it took in Oklahoma that day was the one who shot the man, who shot, I can't, gosh, his name is, if the name's not in front of me, then I'll lose it, but all it took was that one, and that act alone undermined that belief of, or that security in protecting and serving among probably the entire black population in the area. So, it doesn't take much, to undermine that whole idea.
It does not. It does not.
One of the things that I wanted to highlight, and we're getting close to the end of the show, but realism, that whole idea that we're going to accept the situation as it is, and I'm just going to deal with it accordingly. I'm not going to change it. Relativism is everybody's viewpoint has value. That's probably more on the liberal end of things, that I'm not going to, because you have this religion, I'm not going to bash you. Because you have this belief, I'm not going to bash you. It's all relative. We can all live in the world together with our different viewpoints. And we have the idealism. Idealism is seeing the way that you'd like to see the world instead of actually how it is. It's great to have ideals and everything, but to what extent do you have to kind of go more in the realm of reality? There's actually also objectivism, which we've, you've touched on it without saying it, but objectivism is the opposite actually of what you've said about we need to rise up and help each other and be sort of the change. And objectivism is the idea that it's every man for themselves. Altruism is, having a larger purpose, sacrificing yourself for the sake of others is not a realistic human quality that will allow us to survive. So these are mindsets that really exist out there. And so we've got this combination of all these different mindsets: the realist, the relativist, the objectivist, the idealist, and we're all operating in this world. And this is why we see different political parties. This is why we see people arguing about whether or not somebody deserved to be shot, because we've got all of these different viewpoints. And so I say all that to say, just to give us, some context. But before we end the show, I really want to give Coach Ron an opportunity to promote an event that he has coming up on October 1st, I believe.
October the 1st.
Okay.
Thinking for success. Ooh. And I just want to help you get to where you want to be. And so it's a free event, October the 1st. It's downtown Atlanta at 948 Armwood Terrace here in Atlanta, Georgia, at In the Bible Christian Ministry. It's a free experience from 11 a.m. to 1:30. All you have to do is just come, show up.
Okay.
Fill the room, and I just want to bless you.
So what do you expect people to walk away with?
Oh man, I expect you to walk away with your creative horizons broadened.
Wow.
That's just the bottom line, and a new way of thinking about whatever it is you're trying to think about, and getting a new way of getting to your goal, a new way of getting to your new dream. That's the plan. And I promise you, I'm going to be on fire when you walk through that door.
I love it. I love it. And so we will also be sure to post it on the Facebook page so you all can see it. And I just wanted to kind of close with the idea of fear, because we talked about fear a little bit, and we talked about how fear is happening on both sides. So we have police officers who do this because they are afraid. They have this fear based on an idea or belief of what they have of black men. And then on the other side of things, we have an entire black community, black men and women and children who are having a growing fear of law enforcement. And my view is, and this is also in a book that I'm working on right now, use fear to your advantage. So I say, and I'll just quote, collectively, my fears have saved my life, not by coincidence, but by choice. I choose to use the fears that I face as a vehicle for motivation. I can't help but to question people who claim to be fearless, or even aspire to be fearless. Does fearlessness even exist? Are you numb? Are you stoic? Are you hardened to life? If you're living and you're moving forward without fear, that tells me that there's no heroism in it. There's no, there was no sacrifice that it took. And so surely you cannot be a risk taker, because with no fear, there's no risk. I firmly believe that anyone who lives fears. But this does not mean that we live in fear. It means that we must feel as we live. So that is all we have today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're definitely going to have you back because there's so much more we can be talking about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, where we exchange about love, politics, and intellect. Have a great week. Peace out.
George. Y'all need anything else?
Sensation Station Network. Sensation Station Network.